Chosen one, what they call isolation. Heaven calls consecration. While others crave the noise of gatherings and the praise of crowds, you have been pulled into the quiet. Not because you're broken, not because you're afraid, but because you've been called. Called to protect something too holy to be shared carelessly. And what you're about to hear will help you understand why your silence was never a weakness. It was divine strategy. But before we go deeper, I need you to do 3 things.
Awaken. Hit the like button.
So this word reaches other chosen ones. Like you, can subscribe to help us reach 20,000 subscribers. And comment, I protect my peace. This will activate the wealth already moving toward you. Truth then 1. You sense energy before words are spoken. You don't need someone to explain themselves. You feel their presence before they speak. Their footsteps carry intentions, and your spirit reads them like ink on paper. The moment someone stands at your door, your inner being already knows. Peace or disruption, light or weight, assignment or distraction. This isn't judgment, it's discernment. You were born with it, refined by trials, and now it keeps you safe. Your home is not open territory. It is sacred ground. What rests within those walls is more than furniture and memories. It is the residue of every prayer, every fast, every night you cried and heaven responded. That space is an altar, and the altar must remain pure. The wrong visitor does not just take up space. They carry dust that clouds your atmosphere. You've spent years uncluttering your mind, detoxing your spirit, and sweeping out anything that doesn't belong. So when someone shows up with fake smiles and hidden jealousy, your body tenses. You smile politely, but your soul retreats. That is not paranoia, that is preservation. And God is pleased that you're finally trusting your gift of knowing. Sometimes you say no without explanation. You cancel plans. You ignore the knock. You never feel bad, because you've realized every interruption carries a cost. Some people come with innocent masks, but leave behind spiritual residue. And every time you allow it, it takes days to cleanse what took weeks to build. It's not about being alone. It's about being aligned. Alone in the flesh, but surrounded in the spirit. There are angels that walk your halls. There are assignments. Heaven is downloading. And those cannot be heard when noise walks through your door with perfume and small talk. You didn't always understand this. You used to open your heart to everyone. Your home was a revolving door. You gave, hosted, offered warmth, and they left with your peace in their pockets. You sat in your own house feeling drained. Not anymore. You have learned that peace is your first priority, not politeness. No. When someone says, "You've changed," you nod. Because you have. You don't entertain confusion anymore. You don't explain your boundaries. You don't apologize for guarding what's holy. You know what your silence is worth. You know what it cost to protect the oil. And yes, it feels lonely sometimes. But loneliness doesn't mean you're wrong. Sometimes it means you're early, ahead of schedule. Ahead of the crowd. There are seasons where heaven hides the chosen ones, not to punish them, but to purify them. You're in that season now. Your house is a temple. Your breath is a prayer. Your routine is a rhythm with heaven. And anyone who cannot honor that rhythm will feel like static in your spirit. That's not their fault, but it is your responsibility to choose peace over presence. You're not avoiding life, you're building legacy. You're not running from people, you're running toward clarity. And not everyone has the capacity to sit with clarity. Most want comfort. You gave up comfort for calling. You chose the narrow road, and it led you home. Let others misunderstand. Let them call you strange. It doesn't matter. When the time comes, your light will be undeniable, and they'll wonder how you became so strong, not realizing it was in the quiet corners of your home that God rebuilt you. You are not distant, you are deeply aligned. You are not cold, you are focused. You are not antisocial, you are anointed. And this is only the first truth of your calling. Truth then two, your alone time is where God speaks to you. You don't avoid people, you pursue God. In the stillness of your home, when the world is quiet and no one is knocking, that's where you hear heaven clearest. The couch becomes your altar, the silence becomes your sanctuary, and the whispers of the Spirit are louder than any sermon ever preached. You don't just live alone, you listen alone. There were times you craved community, begged for connection, wondered why the phone never rang and the door never opened. But over time you realized it was divine. It wasn't rejection. It was redirection. God didn't want the noise, He wanted your attention. And now, in the hush of your sacred space, you are finally hearing what He's been trying to say. No one sees the prayers that echo off your walls. No one feels the warmth that wraps around you during worship when the lights are low and the tears fall. They don't know the revelations you've received at midnight, the breakthroughs that came between folded hands and breathless groan. You are not alone. You are surrounded. God has chosen your solitude as the soil for secrets. There are divine mysteries planted inside of you, things too holy to be shouted over brunch or shared in casual company. That's why He separated you. That's why He told you, come away. You thought it was a punishment, but it was the preparation of a prophet. You're not missing out. You're being filled up. Others gather for laughter. You gather for clarity. Others chase noise. You've become addicted to peace. And in that peace, you are transformed. It's not a void, it's a voice. It's not empty space, it's sacred ground. Sometimes you feel heaven wrap around you like a blanket. You feel the weight of glory press into your chest like someone is sitting with you. That's not imagination. That's visitation. God Himself has been dwelling with you. And He's not visiting a guest. He's abiding in a vessel. While others scroll, you kneel. While others gossip, you grow. While others search for validation, you seek direction. That's why your spirit has matured. While others remain distracted, your growth didn't happen in crowds. It happened in quiet. You've stopped explaining your alone time to people who don't value stillness. You've stopped apologizing for declining invitations. Because once you taste the presence of God in the sanctuary of your own room, it ruins you for the superficial. You can't go back. You won't. And you've noticed something. The more you sit with God, the more He sits in you. People feel it without you saying a word. Your silence carries authority. Your gaze holds depth. Your presence shifts rooms, not because of who you are, but because of who you've been with. He has marked you in the private place, anointed you when no one was watching. And now, your life is beginning to bear the fruit of that hidden oil. You are not behind. You are being positioned. Some people will never understand why you stopped reaching out, why you disappeared, why you've become harder to find. That's okay. They weren't meant to understand your consecration. They were meant to see the transformation once it's complete. And you, chosen one, have learned the difference between being alone and being aligned. Alone is a condition. Alignment is a calling. You have been called into the secret place, and that is where your power comes from. If this message is already unlocking your spirit, type, "He speaks in silence now." You don't need a crowd to feel full. You need communion. You don't need applause. You need instruction. And in your quiet home, heaven has been handing you scrolls that will soon change everything. Stay in the secret place. Protect it. Guard it. Because what is formed in silence will shake the earth when it speaks. Truth, Gen 3. Your spirit rejects fake fellowship. You've never craved a full room, only a full soul. And you've come to recognize the difference between company and communion. Just because someone sits beside you doesn't mean they stand with you. Just because they laugh with you doesn't mean they speak well of you in your absence. Your spirit knows when it's being tolerated, not celebrated. And you've stopped pretending. There's a heaviness that comes from sitting at a table where your soul doesn't belong. You've learned to leave before dessert is served. You'd rather eat alone in peace than dine with masked faces who call it fellowship but carry secret competition in their hearts. And now, when your body tenses in a room, you trust it. That resistance isn't rudeness. It's revelation. You used to force connection, used to answer every call, used to show up thinking your presence would bridge gaps, but no more. You've realized that every time you lower your discernment, something precious leaks out. Every fake hug drains something sacred. Every shallow conversation pulls your spirit into shadows. And your spirit doesn't allow that anymore. It's not that you don't care. It's that you care too deeply to stay where your peace is ignored. You crave authenticity like air. And when you don't feel it, you withdraw. Not in bitterness, but in protection. You've tried to explain this to people who live on surface levels, but they can't understand depth they've never swum in. Now you let silence answer what your mouth no longer entertains. You know the cost of pretending to belong where heaven never sent you. That cost is too high. It takes days to recover, to recalibrate, to find your voice again after it's been drowned in the noise of fake unity. You've been to their parties, smiled through the gatherings, but left feeling hollow. You knew their laughter wasn't rooted in love. You knew their compliments were camouflaged criticism. And instead of confronting it, you just faded into the background, quietly reclaiming your peace. God has trained your spirit to recognize atmospheres, not just words. That's why someone can say the right thing, and your heart still recoils. Because it's not about speech, it's about substance. And your spirit will always choose truth over comfort. You don't need small talk. You need soul truth. And because of that, your circle has shrunk, but your clarity has grown. Your interactions have lessened, but your anointing has intensified. You were never meant to be popular. You were meant to be powerful. There's a difference between being social and being spiritually sensitive. Some can mingle without consequence, but you carry oil, and that oil is affected by where you sit, who you talk to, and what enters your atmosphere. Your rejection of fake fellowship is not arrogance, it is obedience. There's a divine silence that now surrounds you. Not loneliness, but a holy hush. It is God saying, "Let me choose your company." It is heaven closing doors you didn't have the strength to lock yourself. It is grace, pure grace. You've been accused of being too intense, too distant, too deep. And they're right. You are deep, because your roots have been planted in sacred ground. And shallow waters do not satisfy anymore. You don't belong in echo chambers. You belong in upper rooms. Your hunger has changed. Your spirit is sharper. You no longer seek out vibes. You seek out covenant. And when it can't be found, you retreat without regret. Because you know, proximity without purpose is poison. You've realized that true fellowship is not found in frequency, but in spiritual frequency. One aligned soul can fuel you more than 100 loud ones. And so you wait. You choose solitude over sensation. You choose divine timing over human pressure. Comment. My spirit knows if you've ever felt the invisible rejection rise in your soul around fake fellowship. Chosen one, don't feel guilty for walking away from what looks good but feels wrong. Trust the internal alarm. Trust the divine discomfort. Trust the silence that says, "This is not your table." Truth, done for. You're protecting what others can't see. To most, it's just a house. To you, it's a sanctuary. People see 4 walls and a roof. You see the altar you built in secret. They see a quiet space. You feel the residue of angels brushing past you. They might ask, "Why don't you want company?" But they'll never understand. that your home is where heaven meets earth, and some things must be kept sealed. There are assignments, revelations, and divine instructions being planted in your spirit, right there in the stillness of your space. Every room holds evidence of God's dealings with you. The living room where you worshiped with tears, the kitchen where you fasted in faith, the hallway where you paced in warfare. Every step has been a holy encounter. Your silence is not emptiness. It's a shield, because not everyone who enters your home comes with clean hands and clear intentions. Some bring spirits that war against what God is birthing in you. Some come as spectators, subtly judging, analyzing, extracting, and without even realizing it, they disrupt the spiritual alignment you've been cultivating. You've spent too long cleaning what others left behind. Not dishes or footprints, but confusion, weariness, restlessness. You've felt the shift in the air after they leave. You've had to pray harder, worship longer, just to restore what was unsettled. That's why your yes has become rare. That's why your door stays closed. Because what's happening in your home is too sacred to be shared casually. You are guarding a spiritual womb, and the womb must remain undisturbed. Just as a mother protects the life inside her, you protect the word growing in you. Every visit is an exchange. Every conversation is a deposit or a withdrawal. And heaven has taught you to measure the weight of every presence. It's not that you think you're better. It's that you know what you carry. And those who carry divine things must walk differently. You're not called to be accessible. You're called to be available to God. And sometimes that means being unavailable to everyone else. You've realized that not every friend is safe. Not every family member is pure. And not every smile means peace. So you've stopped inviting people out of obligation. You've stopped feeling guilty for guarding your gate. Your home is not a gathering place for every wandering soul. It's a well, and what pours from it must be preserved. There is incense rising from your rooms. Praise that shifts atmospheres, prayers that echo into realms unseen. When you close your door, you don't just block out the world, you enter the chamber, the secret place, the throne room. And no one is entitled to step into that space unless God has sent them. You're not being dramatic. You're being divine. You're not avoiding people. You're obeying purpose. You've built something sacred between you and God, and you refuse to let it be trampled by those who only visit to satisfy curiosity, not to honor covenant. You are being entrusted with glory, and with glory comes protection. With power comes privacy. Some people want your presence without respecting your process. And that is why your boundaries are holy. They are not rejection. They are protection. Write "My home is sacred" in the comments if you know your atmosphere holds heaven's blueprint. What you've been cultivating in your silence will one day speak louder than any introduction. You don't need visitors to validate you. You've been validated by the one who visits in fire and fills your space with truth. Others build platforms. You've built altars. And altars require reverence. Let them misunderstand. Let them call you distant. One day they'll see that while they were entertaining crowds, you were entertaining angels. Chosen one, your solitude is not a mistake. It is an assignment. And your home has become holy ground because you chose obedience over opinion. Truth, then 5. Your growth requires distance. Elevation demands separation. And chosen one, that's exactly what God has been doing with you. It's not personal, it's prophetic. The distance you've created, the door you've stopped opening, the invitations you've declined, it all makes sense now. Because growth doesn't happen in crowded rooms. It happens in consecrated spaces, the kind you've built in the quiet. You've outgrown rooms you used to shrink yourself to fit in. And with that growth came discomfort, not just within you, but around you. People began to feel the shift. They couldn't explain it, but they sensed it. The way you pulled back, the way you stopped sharing everything, the way you became silent, unavailable, undistracted. But what they called distance was really development. You are not who you were last season. The things you tolerated then, you can't even breathe near now. Conversations feel shallow. Chaos feels suffocating. The noise is unbearable, and it's not because you're changing for the worse. It's because you're evolving for the better. Some of the people you used to walk with still live in the past version of you. They remember the version who never said no. The version who opened the door out of guilt. The version who answered the phone even when their spirit was weary. But that version no longer exists. And you're not obligated to reintroduce yourself. With every level of growth comes a pruning. And that pruning includes people. You've had to love some from a distance. You've had to mourn the connections you once held dear. But in exchange, God has expanded your inner world. He's stretched your spirit. And that expansion could never survive in the smallness of old environments. You're not avoiding community. You're redefining it. You no longer confuse access with alignment. Just because someone wants to enter your space doesn't mean they're called to it. God is showing you that presence without purpose is a distraction, and you no longer have time to babysit dead connection. Growth is uncomfortable. It's quiet, it's lonely, but it's necessary, and you've embraced it. You've embraced the long nights, the heavy reflections, the deep inner healing, and while the world posts highlights, you've been in the wilderness, shedding everything that couldn't follow you into promise. You've noticed that the higher you rise, the fewer hands you see. And that's okay, because when God elevates you, He also refines your circle. Not everyone can breathe the air at the altitude He is taking you to. And that's why you've stopped explaining your absence. It's not pride, it's protection. You don't have to prove your growth. Your absence is proof. Your stillness is proof. Your boundaries are proof. Every closed door has become a monument to how far you've come, and you carry no bitterness, only peace. This season has required distance not as a punishment, but as preparation. You've been rearranged from the inside out. Your thoughts, your desires, your tolerance, all of it shifted. And now, anything that doesn't align with where you're going simply cannot stay. Comment, "I've outgrown it," if you feel that inner shift pushing you into new territory. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Your growth isn't for them to understand. It's for heaven to endorse. And heaven already has. That's why the silence has been so loud. Because it's sacred. That's why the loneliness hasn't broken you. It's built you. Chosen one, growth always requires goodbye. Not in anger. Not in ego. But in obedience. You're not abandoning people. You're answering God. And the more you honor that call, the more peace will find you in places no visitor ever could. You are not isolated. You are incubated. And what's forming in this quiet season will be unshakable. Truth then 6. You've been hidden for a reason. Chosen one. There's a reason. Heaven has kept you covered. You weren't buried, you were planted. While others rushed to platforms, you were pulled into the soil of silence. While they craved spotlight, you craved surrender. And in that quiet place, beneath the surface of attention, God was forming something immortal inside you. You are not invisible. You are veiled. Hidden, not because you're unworthy, but because you're too valuable to be mishandled. What God is doing in you is not for premature eyes. Visitors would have rushed what heaven is still refining. Outsiders would have disturbed the holy process of your becoming. There were seasons you asked, why doesn't anyone reach out? Why doesn't anyone visit? Am I being forgotten? But now you see it clearly. You weren't being forgotten. You were being protected. Angels have been assigned to guard not just your physical space, but the spiritual inheritance you carry. And not every soul is safe enough to stand near. When God hides someone, it's because their anointing is too weighty for common exposure. You were hidden during the attack so the enemy wouldn't destroy you prematurely. You were hidden during the shifting so your identity wouldn't be shaped by opinion. You were hidden during the breakthrough so the glory could fully rest upon you without contamination. You used to open the door out of kindness. But kindness without discernment is dangerous. You've learned that access is not the same as trust. And just because someone knocks doesn't mean they should enter. God has given you the authority to guard the gate. And now you guard it with reverence. There is an oil upon you, fragrant, pure, costly. And oil, like that, must be preserved. It must not be spilled before those who cannot carry it. That's why the gathering stopped. That's why the invitations slowed. That's why the silence grew louder. You thought it was delay. It was divine hiding. Heaven did not want you distracted by popularity or drained by pointless conversations. Heaven wanted you prepared, rooted, aligned. So when the doors finally open, you won't walk. You'll reign. You won't need approval. You'll walk in divine authority. You've been molded in mystery, shaped in shadows, strengthened in stillness. And now, what's emerging from your life will confuse those who counted you out. They didn't see the nights you wept. They didn't see the mornings you prayed. They didn't hear the instructions whispered into your soul, but they will see the outcome. And when they see the glory rising from your life, they'll say, "Where did this come from?" They'll never understand that while they were showing off, you were being sharpened. While they were performing, you were being purified. Chosen one. Your house has been the training ground of heaven, the quiet place where the old you died and the true you was born. And now, the door may still remain closed to others, but the windows of heaven are opening wide over you. Right, I've been set apart in the comments. If this season of hiding has revealed who you truly are, you no longer need visitors to feel seen. God has seen you. God has approved you. God has spoken your name in rooms you've never entered. And what's coming will not require striving, only stewardship. Let peace be your alarm system. Let stillness be your home. Let wisdom guard your gates. You've come too far to be distracted now. You are not meant to be everywhere. You are meant to be effective where heaven plants you. And right now, your assignment is blooming in sacred ground. You're not chasing the blessing. You are the one it's chasing.